Today was a media-only practice today, and my takeaways include Mamba Mo and a defense that looks like it could be a top 10 defense once again. Find out why on today's episode of Locked On Golden Gophers.
Hey,
you are Locked On Golden Gophers.
No matter what we're going to do here, we're just going to keep rowing.
Your daily podcast on the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
However it turns out, we're just going to keep rowing.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
We're just going to keep rowing, and keep rowing.
You're listening to Locked On Golden Gophers, the show where we always continue to row, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm excited. I'm getting juiced. The energy was infectious in yesterday's practice. And you know what? There's a lot to talk about. There's updates from yesterday's practice, from Saturday's practice. So we're going to dive into all that. But first, I wanted to just say thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining this Gopher community. Be sure to follow the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to subscribe on YouTube. We're building a community over there, and it's fantastic. And so the thing I want to hear before we jump into it all is who you think is the most underrated player on the Gophers unit that brings so much value people don't see. So drop that name down in the comments on YouTube below, and let's dive in. So again, media only practice. I'm going to talk a little bit about the offense first, then we'll move into the defense, and then end the show with a segment we haven't done in quite a while, which is the clue-based trivia game of Guess That Gopher. We're going to dive into it all today, and on the offensive side of ball, some of the notes I had, there was the energy from today's practice was infectious, especially on the defensive side of ball, but the fire was hot today. The fire was stoked. It was competitive, and there was some times where, there was a little moment in there where the team even had to be kind of broken up and separated just because the fire was hot, and you love to see that energy, you love to see that passion coming out. So it was a good day overall when it comes to competitiveness. Now on the offensive side of ball, the offensive line is really shaping up. The right tackle battle looks more like a three-man race now that we were able to see JJ Gade out there a lot more as well. It was great to see him out there looking healthy, and clearly it is a fairly even split race. Right now, I would say Martez Lewis still has a little bit more of the reps, it seems. It seems like maybe he's got just slightly more than JJ Gade and Quinn Carroll, who also have been splitting likely to even. But we also even saw Martez Lewis move over and take a couple snaps in at left tackle when Ariante Erzuri needed a breather. So that versatility, like I said, is going to be very key for the Gophers and be an advantage for the Gophers. Because say Gade takes the right tackle spot, well then you can have Martez Lewis, who can be a backup for either the left tackle or the right tackle. Quinn Carroll can also back up the right tackle or play a guard position. And then you have those extra deep that we talked about on the recap of Saturday's practice, who stepped into a lot of twos reps and were able to have some stability. So it's great to see that we may have 11 solid offensive linemen that we can trust in through the season. That depth definitely helps, and maybe it's even 12. Maybe we saw flashes today from a young Cole McConnell. He looks big. He is promising. He's a guy that could definitely step into a bigger role next season. Great size, great build, and athleticism. And to show it that early as a true freshman, it's promising, something to look forward to. So the offensive line, again, really looks to be shaping up. And here is a little snippet of what John Michael Schmitz had to say about that right tackle battle after today's practice.
We always talk about competition, when competing with one another and stuff like that. And I couldn't ask for a better job with what Callie's doing of developing these guys. JJ Gade, Quinn Carroll, Martez Lewis, they're battling each and every day and giving it all their effort. And I'm excited to see who's going to be in that 5.
I hope you tried to lead more.
So that's going to kind of sum up what we saw on the offensive line today. Now, if you dive into the quarterbacks, there was communication issues, especially from the young quarterbacks today in some of the team periods. The defense was giving them havoc, wreaking havoc, causing chaos. So the defense presented a lot of challenges. There was even a team period where Coach Fleck literally, it seemed to be a run-focused period, and Coach Fleck stopped the entire period, said how if we play like this, if this is the effort, then we're not going to be able to stop the run and we're not going to be able to run the ball. Start it over, and it really set the tone that your good is not good enough right now. So it was good to get that refreshing, like, cut the crap. We got to get back at this. We need to step our game up. The intensity to be the best team in the Big Ten Conference, it's there. That passion, that fire, and that intensity is there. And you can tell this team is built to go out there and contend, to take the Big West, and they're not going to settle for their second best. Now, besides the communication errors here and there, Tanner had a great moment in the second period of 7-on-7s today, looking off the safety, creating an opening for Dalen Wright, who ran a seam route up the middle, and Tanner dropped in a 65-yard touchdown for Dalen Wright. Now, the ball wasn't in the air for a full 65. It was probably in the air for at least 50, though. It was a good throw, and Dalen Wright, wide open, catches it, hauls it in for the touchdown. Great moment, flash of brilliance you like to see. Cole Kramer also had a fantastic pass today. The safety kind of heading in towards Geary coming out of the slot, who ran a deep slant. Geary coming out of the slot, and the linebacker was draped on his backside. The safety was coming down to cover the front end, and Cole Kramer drops a dot in there. Fantastic pass, looked phenomenal. And then outside of the quarterbacks, outside of the offensive line, we look at the pass catchers. Jamison Gears got a lot of work today in that tight end. Looks like a real three-man tight end room between Brevin Spanford, Jamison Gears, and Nick Callerup. We saw a lot more Jamison Gears today, or in yesterday's practice, than we did on Saturday's practice. So, good things overall. Now, Daniel Jackson was at the practice today, was not participating, wasn't, not street clothes, but wasn't padded or anything like that, was in a boot. So something to keep an eye on. Don't know the timeline for it, don't know the actual injury, but it seems ankle related. He did ride the bike today with the trainers, so we'll keep an eye on it, but it looks like he'll probably be out at least for the next week maybe or so. We'll see. We'll keep you updated. But stepping up for that, Ike White stands out to me. Ike White has been looking good in practice, had a great one-handed grab in a 1v1 indie drill today, or 1v1 competition drill today, and also had some really solid catches throughout the day in team periods. Also looked good in Saturday's team periods. Ran the gauntlet again today. So I think it's really interesting how much run he's getting, how much time he's getting, and I think he is someone that maybe even Gophers media isn't talking enough about. He's someone to keep an eye on. He could produce some minutes, sometimes some snaps as a freshman if called upon or needed. If there is injury, I think he will be the first person that we ask to step up. And I've seen a lot of promising moments for him, so I'm excited for Ike White, and I think you will hear his name more and more as we continue to go forward and as he continues to warm up into that football FBS Division I level and absorbs the playbook more. Coming as a true freshman, he's looked pretty good. Zach Evans, speaking of true freshmen, also looked good. Had some solid runs today, especially in the gauntlet where he scored 2 of the offense's 7 points. And then Mo is looking fluid. He's looking good. He's looking like he's gaining his confidence back. And in the press conference after the practice today, he talked about his mentality and with the Achilles injury. He didn't really know too much about the Achilles injury until he really dove into it after he had suffered it. He really took after Kobe Bryant's mindset that Mamba Mo is what I kind of labeled it yesterday on Twitter when I shared the video of him talking about it. But he really watched that documentary that Kobe Bryant had to see how he mentally prepared himself to come back to his fullest capability and to be able to put himself in the mindset and not way too heavy on him, not get too down, not rush the process, but to put himself in the right Mamba mentality. And he also talked about studying guys like Cam Akers, guys like Kevin Durant who had suffered Achilles injuries, and how to bounce back from it and get to the best of his ability. Now, in that press conference as well, someone had asked, what percent are you at right now when it feels like you're coming back into yourself? What percentage would you give yourself? And without a doubt, without a hesitation, he said 100%. So you like to see it. You like to see the confidence building. You like to see the aggressiveness out there, the fluidness out there, and I'm excited for Mo Ibrahim. Now let's talk about the defensive end, but first let's talk about our friends over at BetOnline. They're going to give you everything you need to know when it comes to the latest trends and actions in the sporting worlds, especially as we're diving into college football. If you want to look at the game, the lines for the games, if you want to look at the over-unders for win totals, if you want to look at the Heisman odds, you're going to find it over at BetOnline. See, BetOnline is bringing you more lines, more props, and more odds than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, so let's jump into the defensive side of things. Now, like I said, this defense, it looks nice. It looks real clean. I mean, I think the defense won the entire day today when it came to practice, when it came to team periods, when it came to the gauntlet drill, when it came to just the fire, the passion. There was chirping out there. There was some trash talking, and you know what? I love it. I love that infectious energy. I love the fire. I love the competition. And honestly, this defense is quite possibly going to be a top 10 unit again if they put it all together. If they make those connections, I don't have a doubt in the ability of it being a top 10 defense. It's just putting it all together, connecting, and being in sync. If it does all that, it will be a top 10 defense again. They have the talent, they have the speed, they have the depth. So get ready. This Gophers defense could lead the charge for this team. It was hard to judge the offense today, honestly, because the defense was causing so much chaos and wreaking havoc. I mean, honestly, there were guys in the backfield after the quarterback very quickly, which people were afraid wouldn't happen with the losses of Isaiah Tomewu and Boye Mafe going to the NFL. But this defensive line, though it might not have a ton of starts collectively, it looks athletic, it looks fast, it looks like it's going to cause some problems for folks, honestly. And then on top of that, the secondary looks top-notch. They're draped all over the wide receivers, the tight ends, the running backs in coverage, often making stops in the backfield on tunnel screens, often making stops in the run game, coming off the edge. I mean, Ryan Stapp looks phenomenal in the run game as well as the pass game. Came up with an interception today in 7v7s against Tanner Morgan. That looked nice. I mean, honestly, they've made it hard to judge the offense, especially in yesterday's practice, because they're flying out there. The secondary is draped all over the pass catchers, giving the quarterback hard time to make a read, and then the defensive line and that front seven are getting in there after the quarterback very quickly, so it gives the quarterback a very minimal window of time to find the open option. Honestly, we're going to give quarterbacks troubles on both sides of the front end of the defense and that secondary. But one area that maybe could be a worry would be if we were going up against a super athletic quarterback. I'm talking your Malik Cunninghams, your past Johnny Manziel's, Lamar Jackson, those type of guys, Jordan Travis of Florida State, he could be the type of quarterback that presents this defense some trouble with his athleticism and being able to get out of the pocket extremely quickly. But our secondary is great in the coverage, so I think we could still hang in there with it, but that's the type of quarterback that maybe, just maybe, could find some holes. Luckily, in the Big Ten, there aren't that many quarterbacks of that capability, if any, this year. So this defense is going to present a lot of problems. Now, diving into some specific players, Logan Richter was sidelined today with an injury. It looked like it was his left leg. It was in a kind of soft splint, if that makes sense. So he was on the bikes today as well with the trainers, not dressed. So hopefully it's nothing too serious and we can see him in the near future. He was getting some good reps, especially with the twos and working on the rotation on that interior defensive line. Then Jalen Glaze. So there was a moment in the gauntlet today where Jalen Glaze had a phenomenal tackle. Him and Kyler Bob both made huge plays in that gauntlet drill. And Jalen Glaze, PJ Fleck made it a point to stop the entire practice, stop the music, and literally it was Jalen Glaze, this team needs you. His athleticism, his ability, his youth that he brings, this team will be so much better and so much more lethal as he continues to step up. And PJ Fleck wanted to make certain that he knew and that his teammates around him respect that as well, that he is important to this team. So you love to see moments like that. Now, other names that stood out, again, Ryan Stapp, beautiful interception versus Tanner Morgan in 7-on-7s. A later team period, he almost had another one against Tanner Morgan. He's really flying all over the field, whether it be from the nickel or whether it be subbing in at the outside corner. He's doing it all, and he's really showing why the Gophers added him in the transfer portal. Josh Ani has looked great in pass coverage, especially coming from the linebackers or the safety side of things over to the linebackers. So making that switch, he's looked fluid. He's looked good in the packages that he's in when it comes to pass coverage. Again, the defense won the gauntlet drill today, which is that competition period we talked about Saturday's practice as well. They won 10-7, had some huge 1v1 open field tackles, and ended it with a forced fumble and fumble recovery. The defense had multiple forced fumbles caused today, one on Crab, and in a team period. The defense is going to be a menace, folks, a menace, and I love it. I'm here for it. Joe Rossi is building something special on the defensive side of ball over the last few years, and this year is none different. It might be even better. It might be even better. Think about that. Top 10 defense could be even better. And then just an update on the core ones and what I've kind of seen across the board today or in yesterday's practice. The ones. Okay, so if we have two interior defensive down linemen, then you're likely seeing something with Jalen Logan Redding on the end, Kyler Baugh and Trill as those interior defensive tackles, and then Thomas Rush as the other end. Your outside DBs are Terrell Smith and Justin Wally. Nickel, you'll see a lot of Flip Dixon, and if it's not Flip Dixon, it's Ryan Stapp. And then at the safeties, of course, you've got Howden and Nubin. And then the interior linebackers, you see a lot of Braylon Oliver and Mariano Sori-Marin. Now, if you switch that up and you move to 3 down linemen on the defensive interior, then you've got Jalen Logan Redding, Kyler Baugh, and Trill Carter. Then your edge or your pass rusher, so to speak, you see a lot of Donald Willis and a lot of Thomas Rush with those ones. And then Sori-Marin kind of running that middle linebacker position. Now, the outsides remain the same with T-Time and Justin Wally. And then the nickel is often either Michael Flip Dixon or Ryan Stapp. So that's really starting to lock in, really starting to secure itself as far as kind of what we're seeing from the ones from Saturday and Tuesday's practices. Then Howden and Nubin again at the safeties. Now, who has been rotating in with maybe the twos or getting a lot of team reps still with the rotations? At edge, you're seeing a lot of Danny Strigow, Jaw Joyner, and even, like I said, a little bit of Willis. Then at the interior defensive line, you're seeing a lot of Devin Easter rotating in, Darnell Jeffries rotating in, and then we were seeing Logan Richter, but again, he was out in yesterday's practice. At linebacker, we're seeing Luke Finney rotate in, LeCaptain rotate in. They're more so running in on the packages that we will focus on stopping the ground game or having more balance between pass coverage and run coverage. And then if you're shifting to more of a pass coverage look, you're seeing more of the Josh Ani out there or Willis out there. And so that's kind of what the linebackers looking like. At the nickel, if you're not seeing Stapp and you're not seeing Flip Dixon, then you're seeing Jalen Glaze. And it was good to see him out there getting team reps. At the defensive back, the cornerback, you're seeing Beanie Bishop, Tariq Watson, and every once in a while you'll see Jalen Glaze on the outside, but not too often. Beanie Bishop, it's good to see him getting back in there more for team reps. That was a concern, or not a concern, but just something I wanted to keep an eye on from Saturday's practice to Tuesdays. And then finally at the safety position, Darius Green and Coleman Bryson. Coleman Bryson, looking good, looking like a stud as a true freshman. Honestly, if any true freshman is going to get minutes early and often, I think Coleman Bryson is making a case for himself as potentially the third safety out there. Darius Green causing some challenges and giving himself some opportunity. Flip Dixon could be out there at the safety, but if they're not, Coleman Bryson has shown that he can step up into it, and great flashes that you love to see from the true freshman. Now we're going to close today's show with the game we know and love, Guess That Gopher. If you haven't heard of it, think of the Power Trip Morning Show and the Initials game. If you haven't heard of that, I'll explain it coming up next. All right, so we are going to end the day with Guess That Gopher. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you following. Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss a single episode when it comes to these Gopher updates. Now, we're ending the show with Guess That Gopher. It's a clue-based trivia game. If you've ever heard of the Power Trip Morning Show's Initials game, they give you initials, and then he starts to present clues, and with those clues, you want to guess a person, a place, a subject with those initials. Well, we're not doing the initials here, but you know that this will be a Gopher athlete. So I'm going to present clues, and you want to guess who this Gopher athlete is as quick as you can with the fewest amount of clues. Be sure to drop down in the comments on YouTube and let me know which clue gave it away for you, and let's do this thing. So, clue number 1. This Gopher athlete was named Big Ten second team by coaches and media as a sophomore. Clue number 2. This Gopher athlete led all Big Ten freshmen in rebounding and averaged 10 points per game and still was not named to Big Ten freshman team. Clue number 3. This Gopher athlete scored a career high of 30 points in a game with an injured shoulder. Clue number 4. This Gopher athlete is a Minnesota native and committed to the Gophers over the Kansas Jayhawks. Clue number 5. This Gopher athlete played 2 years for the Gophers, starting in 62 of 66 games played. Clue number 6. This Gopher athlete was drafted in the second round of the NBA draft with the 33rd overall pick to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, did you get it right? If so, let me know which clue gave it away for you down in the comments on YouTube. And if you didn't get it right, I'm about to let you know who it is. It is none other than Daniel Oturu. He was drafted by the Wolves in 2020 and traded to the Clippers. Now plays for the Windy City Bulls, and his second stint with them was on a 10-day contract with the Raptors previously. And I believe that the Magic have either given him looks or given him a contract as well. All Big Ten defensive team, all Big Ten second team, and the first University of Minnesota player to be drafted to the NBA since Chris Humphries in 2004. Now, hopefully there's more to come. Hopefully we'll see Jamison Battle. We'll see Dawson Garcia be able to step up and take the leap into the NBA in the future. But Daniel Aturu was that player for Guess That Gopher. Let me know if you like this segment, and we'll continue rolling it in the weeks to come. And if you don't like it, let me know. Let me know so I know what you want to hear when it comes to the Golden Gophers on Locked On Golden Gophers. That's going to do it for us on today's episode. This is Kane Rob signing off. I will see you tomorrow where we'll start back up with our defensive positional breakdown. Have a good one.